machines rose from the ashes of the podcasting wars.
Whoa.
Their war to exterminate podcasters had raged for decades.
Bum.
But the final battle would not be fought in the future.
Bum.
It would be fought here in our present. Tonight.
Bum.
By America's most cybernetic podcast, The Pod People. I can't be bargained with. I can't be reasoned with. I'm Matisse Van Rossum.
I'm Skynet's worst tech support agent, Ben Sheets.
Are you a furry? Hi.
What?
Furries are in tech support. Anyway, moving on.
What?
It's a stereotype.
Twins.
It's a stereotype that they're
Is
all
it?
in tech support. Yeah.
I've never
100%.
heard that stereotype.
Yeah, listeners,
before.
back me up.
You are too online.
Bro,
sir.
I work in
That's
tech.
true.
I work in tech support. None of my coworkers are furries,
That's
as far
crazy.
as I know.
As far as you know. Yeah. Anywho, hi. Sorry for that derailment
expert
right off the top.
Cleveland motion.
No. Hi, I'm Cleveland Mosier, and look at this photograph of Sarah Connor.
Every time I do, it makes me horny.
Oh, what a rowdy start.
Yeah, a nice rowdy start for a nice rowdy film.
Yes.
This
If
was
you hadn't guessed,
this was Cleveland's pick,
goddamn right.
and we're here to talk about the one, the only,
Ba-bum.
1984's The Terminator.
Yes.
Well, really, it's not the only. There's
Well-
there's like 6 or 7 at
Yeah,
this point.
that's true. But it all started in 1984. It all started with Big Jim Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton.
He had a vision.
And Big Jim had a vision. What if a robot went back in time to kill your mom? And so you had to send your best friend back in time to fuck your mom.
To become your dad.
To become your dad.
Spoilers for Terminator. A movie that is so ingrained in pop culture, it's hard to miss. And
Well, it's funny because you guys say that, but was this the first time you guys have seen
Yes.
this?
Yes.
In watching this movie, I realized that this is the first time
Yeah.
that I've actually
So,
seen Terminator all the way through.
really funny that this happened to both of us.
Yes.
Right? Like, you and I had both, at some point, like, in our early... I was probably, like, I don't know, 13, when I saw T2.
Oh, no, I didn't see T2 for the first time until college.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I could not remember if I'd watched the original and then T2, and then just T2 a bunch more times back to back, because I watched T2 a lot as a kid on VHS. And, at that era, like, it wasn't as easy as, like, popping on and seeing if it was on streaming or whatever else like that. So, like, all I remember was just going back to T2, and I could have sworn I saw it. And it's because, again, it's so ingrained in pop culture, clips are online, it's quoted to death. Like,
Yeah.
I had just... somewhere in my fucking brain, it just kind of got in memory hole.
Well,
I really thought that I had seen it.
I mean, the same thing happened to me. Like, I've seen T2 several times, and I thought that I had seen Terminator, but so much of this movie was unfamiliar to me that I'm like, oh, well, guess I didn't. I guess I've just...
To a surprising amount.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, like, all of, like, the big important, like, moments,
I mean, the one-liners have taken their own life in pop culture.
Yeah.
I've seen this movie a few times before now. Honestly, like Cleveland, I've seen T2 way more times because I honestly think it's a better movie.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think most people would agree with you.
I think this one is still very good.
However,
Yes.
that. Yes. Very much so.
But it doesn't got that juice.
you know
It's
what it
true.
also doesn't have as much juice as? Near Dark. I was thinking about it. And because I mentioned this on the Near Dark episode, that this and the Terminator movies, have similar themes, and that, like, the creature it can't die, it can't be bargained with, it just won't stop coming, right? Though in Near Dark, it's vampires, it's lit very similarly, it's, shot and directed at a very similar time. And I think...
James Cameron and Catherine Bigelow were married for a while.
for a period of time, exactly. So that's why I think, like, the connection is worth it. I think Catherine Bigelow's better.
No,
not overall in her career. I think Near Dark is better than this movie. But if we're lining up James Cameron's career next to Catherine Bigelow's career. Sorry, Big Jim wins this one big time.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, I'll start. Name another Catherine Bigelow movie that you've seen and that you liked. Precisely. Name another James Cameron movie that you've seen and that you've liked.
Yeah. Aliens. Fucking all right. Yeah. All right.
Avatar 2, The Way of Water,
to Catherine
Titanic.
Bigelow, Point Break is pretty good.
Right.
Point Break does rule. Yes, very true.
Though she turned out to be a total fed.
Well, yeah,
considering Zero Dark 30.
And The Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
She just sort of went on to make propaganda for the United States military. I mean, very well made propaganda. She's certainly not a bad director. But we're getting sidetracked. We're here to talk. We're here to talk about the Terminator and Big Jim, our man, Big Jim,
And Big Arnold.
and Big Arnold. Yeah, man, Arnold is big in this one, isn't he?
He's big. He's a big man.
Yeah, I guess
The
this
universe
is.
himself.
I know this wasn't like the movie that made him famous, but
Conan.
it is Conan. Yeah, Conan was really
Conan, and
all of note that he had done before
he
this.
did that documentary Pumping Iron, which was really
that's right.
popular.
Pumping iron.
That was back in like the early 70s, wasn't it?
Mid to late, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he was starting to be on the rise. He wasn't like hugely famous.
Yeah.
And
But
I
he was
think this
huge.
is what made
This
him
is-
a true icon. You
Yes.
know, you could argue it was Conan, but like this movie I think had more of
A broader appeal
a
than
breakthrough.
Conan. Yeah.
One of the most iconic posters of all time, in my opinion, is the poster of Schwarzenegger with the gun and the sunglasses
And the leather
on.
jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just such a cool look. That, let's be real, like, The Matrix is often credited for, like, the cool trench coat and the shotgun, and the sunglasses, but we all know where that shit started.
Yeah, I mean, like many things, The Matrix, like, sort of exaggerated on the style of stuff like Terminator.
Yeah, and like the whole concept itself, like, is very tech noir.
Well,
like-
it's also, the Matrix is, as the Wachowskis have said in interviews, is just their attempt at a live-action Ghost in the Shell, and Ghost in the Shell is also pulling from this same inspiration. It all informs itself with Gibson and the rest. And
What if an AI?
Neo-Tokyo shit.
What if an AI gained sentience and decided that all of humanity was a threat? So it's time to nuke us all and build a bunch of killer robots to hunt down the survivors and enslave them. That is the premise of Terminator. And then they send a big Austrian robot back in time to kill the mother of the leader of the resistance in the future so that he can never be born.
I love how like the beginning of this movie has zero fat on it.
Yeah.
We start right away by like jumping right into it. Like in the first 5 minutes, we see Arnold butt-ass naked, being transported back in time to...
Yeah. Well, at the very beginning, we get like the little glimpse of the future, the far distant future of 2029, where, the world has been destroyed. And we just see great matte painting with some miniatures of just like this destroyed city with storm clouds in the sky and big like ships flying around, sweeping like the ruins with spotlights and lasers and stuff, and get the title card about how the future is bad, but how the final battle will be fought in the present year of 1984.
I love how many like cool like stop motion things are in that beginning sequence. I know that Stan Winston did a lot of the additional directing with the stop motion and the models and figurines and stuff.
It looks fucking great.
Still looks amazing. I mean, even like the Terminator moving around at the end, I think is uncanny in a scary way.
Yeah.
I think it's herky and jerky, and it to me just makes it even spookier. You can see the strings a little bit. That's kind of part of the joy of watching movies, I think.
Yeah, I love that one of those opening shots of just like the close up of the treads of this big robot tank just crushing
skulls.
like this a mountain of human skulls.
Great.
Really sets up the stakes very nicely. It's like, this is the future if our heroes don't triumph. But what I like about it is, like, it does give you that little title card and like the glimpse of the far future or whatever. But after that, like, it does keep its cards like pretty close to the chest. Like the whole thing about, you know, the Terminator being sent back in time to kill Sarah Connor so John Connor can never be born is like, that exposition doesn't happen until like halfway through the movie.
I mean, it's all delivered organically.
Well,
Yeah, for the most part.
yeah, and there's that whole bit in the car where he just kind of delivers all of
Where
it.
he kind of lays it out. But yeah, I mean, you're able to infer a lot just from like the action of the movie. Like you said, it starts out with fucking butt-ass naked Arnold appearing in a sphere of lightning.
Well, I like
Yeah.
the guy. It's next to a dump truck, and we start with
A garbage truck, yeah.
the garbage truck driver, and he's sitting in the car, and then electricity starts carrying out all over everything. And again, it's that classic '80s fucking hand-drawn electricity. I love that shit. It looks so good. But this is some of the best, frankly, too. I think for the time, like so much of it, like it has that hand-drawn.
It does not.
but
It does not look as
It
cheap
almost
as the
looks
same
like-
effect in a lot of
It
other
almost
movies.
looks like composited, like Tesla coil stuff.
Yeah.
Which
might-
I
it
wouldn't
might
be
well be.
surprised.
Which it could be, actually. Yeah.
That's a good point. Which would be a more efficient way to do it. I do like it because the truck driver, his delivery, which I think is also ADR, but like is it's kind of like flat. He's just sort of like, what the hell? What the hell? And so meanwhile, electricity is like carrying over everything, but like the actor couldn't see it.
Yeah.
You know? So there's some kind of cute dissonance there. And then boom, we get a Nike. A Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And he gets up and walks off. And again, like this whole movie is dark alleys with blue light. And again, I've mentioned it before. I think the first time I really touched on it was the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. As I love those 80s shots of alleyways with blue lights and fog, man.
Yep.
And people running in silhouette. And this movie is just full of that. It's just pretty constant. And glistening, shiny metal and puddles, and it looks so good. It's so tactile.
And the wet men. I've said it before and I'll say it
Wet
again.
men.
Movies are too dry these days. Movies are too fucking dry. They're too afraid to spray down any of their actors because they think sweat equals ugly. But
Wrong.
I miss the halcyon
Fucking wrong.
days of the 80s and 90s when everybody was just fucking soaking wet in movies all the goddamn time.
Head to toe, dripping.
Head to toe fucking glistening.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't just like the buff, cool men and ladies. It was also like the Muppets, man. Like all of the fucking the puppets.
I don't know if I've ever seen a wet Muppet.
No, but the practical puppetry is what I mean. I was being a little silly, but like this is the era of silicone and rubber coated with goo and shit, and it makes it. It really does bring it together. I like all those latex gooey shots. I like Arnold operating on himself and other shit. Like there's just so many cool sequences in this movie.
Yeah, well, after he appears in the nude, he comes upon a group of punks. One of them played by pod favorite
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton,
That's right.
who has a very funny. Is it a tattoo or did he get run over by a car?
He does look like he's got a tire mark, a tire track on his face. Well, he's got
Very
like
Akira,
he's
also
got
like the punks.
the bright blue like Liberty Spike hairdo, and they mock Arnold for being naked until he promptly punches through their chest cavities.
I like
one
it.
by
This is
one.
like, yeah, this guy looks a few beers short of a six pack.
And it's like I don't know, like even if he was naked, if just like a man as just fucking enormous and beefy as Arnold Schwarzenegger walked up to you, like I don't know, even if you were with all your punk buddies, like I don't feel like I would be taunting that man, you know?
Well, these days you'd think it was just like a CrossFit bro
Yeah.
coming up
Yeah,
on you.
I would still be confused as to why he's naked, but, you know, like, you never know.
These days you would say, damn, this guy looks a few scoops short of a creatine case.
Well, man, fucking got him. And then he would punch through your chest.
That's
cavity,
true, yeah,
too.
it would be the same. It would go the exact same way. Yeah, I like your clothes. Give them to me. Yeah.
I love that he fucking the group that he comes across is punks, because then he gets like the cool fucking punk gear for the first half of the movie.
You never see that
like the
stuff
studded,
in pop culture too.
yeah.
Like all the pop culture shots of this film like feature him with the cool trench coat and the glasses from later on in the film. But early on, yeah, when he's wearing like the spiky punk jacket and he's got like the insane shirt with all
and
the patterns.
the fingerless gloves with the little studs on the knuckles and stuff.
And that's great.
There's no way he could fit into Bill Paxton's outfit.
No, that's what. Yeah, absolutely not.
That's the greatest suspension of disbelief. The time travel and all that stuff is fine, but
that would be really funny if they did just put him in like clothes that are obviously too small. Like the shirt is like basically like a crop top, like his midriff is exposed, like his
tummy out,
like the shoulders of the jacket are just like dripped out, just like exploded. But then after that, we get somebody else being sent back from the future.
A thinner, but still very attractive man.
Yes, a thinner but still handsome gentleman who proceeds to steal the pants from a drunken bum he finds in an alley.
Something I like to think about that kind of had me giggling a little bit is when people die, they usually shit themselves.
Yeah.
And the idea of like the Terminator walking around in shitty pants,
the doo-doo pants,
hunting them down in the shitty pants, and then also the bum was probably
those pants were probably shitty too.
Yeah.
So everybody in the movie, the good guy, the bad guy, everyone's running around in shitty pants.
Yeah. Something to think about.
And then last but certainly not least, we're introduced to Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton. She doesn't know it yet, but the mother of the leader of the resistance, John Connor.
How old do you guys think Sarah Connor's supposed to be in this movie?
Oh, God, it's way younger than she looks.
It's an unkind question.
I feel like she's probably supposed to be like 22 or something.
Yeah, 24.
18.
What? She's got her own apartment with a roommate and everything.
It's canon as 18.
All right. Well,
I don't know why.
Well, I mean, like how that's just like the language of movie, especially from the 80s.
I mean, they also say
18-year-old, obviously played by someone in their late 20s.
Terminator 2 is 11 years later, and she's 29. She's supposed to be 29 in that.
Okay, yeah, they never do say her age in this one. They do say that Michael Baine's character Kyle Reese is supposed to be 25. That's a hard 25 if I've ever seen it.
Damn.
But I mean,
tight 25.
He has been living in the post-apocalyptic future, so
that'll age you.
You know, that'll age you. I do like when he appears from the future and he's like naked too. You see like on his back he's got like a bunch of like burn scars and shit that are probably from, you know, fucking laser beams and shit like that.
Yeah, they never say, do they?
No, well, no, but
yeah, and I like that. That's good.
I mean, yeah, he's a soldier from the future war, you know.
Yeah, maybe so at some point the robots had him plugged into something too.
I mean, he does have like a barcode burned onto his wrist that he mentions is like a laser burn or something from when they were enslaved by the machines or whatever. Yeah. So I mean, we see at the beginning that the ships and stuff are all shooting lasers. And we see that in a couple of the flashbacks too.
Something I never realized is that they were really pushing the Nazi angle. I didn't realize that before, because that's less touched on in T2. But they basically relegate all the people to like camps, and he has a barcode on his hand that's very similar to like the Jewish tattoos. from the concentration camps. And having actually not seen this movie, I really thought I had, but like having not seen the movie, I never really made that connection.
Robot Nazis.
Yeah, basically.
What if Hitler was a computer? That sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, what if Hitler was a computer?
What if Hitler was on Neopets? That would be pretty scary, innit? It would be pretty scary. What if your mum ran on batteries? What if your toaster could download child pornography?
Oh my god. Terrifying, innit? All right.
That would be right scary.
Get my spit off my drink. All right. Okay. So after they show up, Arnold gets out a telephone directory and he starts hunting down Sarah Connors one at a time.
Yep.
I like how we have to sort of piece together what he's doing here. You know, what's happening alongside the police. One of which played by Lance Hendrickson.
Lance Hendrickson, yes.
Another near dark.
And aliens.
And aliens.
Yeah, which was 2 years after. 2 years after this, that's 86, right? Aliens.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's gonna be a real testament to Lance Hendrickson. Like, just like some of the best in the industry loved working with him.
Yeah,
That's a
he's had
sign of a professional.
he's had a rich and storied career.
yeah.
Yeah,
Pumpkinhead probably being his greatest work.
man, I haven't seen those movies in such a long fucking time. I do not remember liking them very much.
The creature at the end's pretty dope. Another tangent.
Yeah,
we should pick it at some point.
The creature's cool. I just don't remember the movie being very good.
Anywho, Lance Hendrickson, he's an important policeman, and they're trying to get to the bottom of these. They think it's some sort of a serial killer, and
well, I mean, it is by definition. Yeah. He's killing people serially.
He's a serial killer because he has a serial number.
Oh yeah, probably got a lot of serial numbers on all them different parts.
Probably, but serial's killer doesn't have the same ring to it.
Well, before he kills the Sarah Connors, he goes to the gun shop.
Yes, that's right.
One of my favorite scenes.
Another great little character actor cameo in there with Dick Miller being the gun store owner.
Just for the one scene.
Yeah. Before he gets fucking promptly blown away after he buys all or sells all of these guns.
I was a little surprised he killed him right then and there. I figured that they'd keep Dick Miller around for longer, but they did not.
Nope, he's the Terminator exists only to terminate.
Yep.
Yeah. He's an unfeeling, unthinking machine bent only on his mission.
I love how he asks for a plasma rifle.
Yeah, it's like anything else. Plasma. He gives like some specific model of plasma rifle. I think we're just like, hey, what you see is what you get. Just like totally glosses over it.
But then he does give him some fucking awesome guns. The pistol with the laser sight on it, fucking, but iconic. That shit is so cool. And
the fucking autoloader shotgun,
an Uzi.
Yeah, that he takes the Uzi as like a consolation for not being able to get the plasma rifle. Yeah. It's like what you see is what you get. Is like 90mm Uzi. So then he goes on his killing spree, just going through the phone book and killing Sarah Connors one at a time until he finds the right one. I really like the scene where Sarah's out at the restaurant and hears on the news that 2 women named Sarah Connor have been killed, and she just immediately realizes oh shit, I'm in danger.
Yeah.
And tries to call her roommate, who has her weird greasy boyfriend over, but won't answer the phone because they're too busy having sex and eating sandwiches and listening to 80s music.
Intimacy.
Yeah.
They didn't deserve to die. It's fucked up.
It is fucked up, man.
They were just pursuing the American dream, fucking and eating sandwiches.
Yeah.
I do love how they take a fucking break and she goes off to go make sandwiches and she takes his Walkman because he's already passed out, of course, and she's dancing around the apartment. This movie spares no opportunity to play 80s dance jams. We're always rocking throughout the movie and it's great. And so much of it's diegetic too. Like, so she starts making sandwiches, and we get a lizard jump scare because Sarah Connor has a pet lizard.
Yes,
Pugsley.
Pugsley.
Just what you name a pug, I would think.
I was kind of hoping there would be a bit more payoff with the lizard, honestly. I was hoping it would, like, jump on Arnold's face or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, while she's dancing and making a sandwich in the kitchen, Arnold comes through the window and has a sweaty fight with her mostly naked boyfriend before she even notices, because she's coming back to the bedroom with the big fucking Scooby-Doo ass sandwich that she made, and he crashes through he like throws her boyfriend through the
and
door
she drops her
and
big
drops
plate
it.
of sandwiches
Yeah.
and her full glass of milk.
Yes.
You know, this era of movies often gets a generally valid rap for being like pretty chauvinistic, but I will say this movie, pretty fair. We have a 4-to-1 male to female nudity ratio in this film.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, as we got Arnold at the beginning, we got Kyle Reese at the beginning, we have this guy in that room, we have Kyle Reese again naked later during the sex scene, and we only get one Linda Hamilton. So that's it's 4-to-1. It's pretty good. It's pretty good odds.
Yeah,
It's pretty progressive odds.
That is progressive
Yeah.
with this movie.
Motherfucker had his notebook out and checking.
I had to think it through.
Tally.
Just a second. I was like, okay, well, there's that one, there's that one. Yeah, going through it.
All right, hot shot. Does the movie pass the Bechdel test?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. There's some waitresses talking. Who cares? It's
I think
a
it
stupid
does
test.
technically
Yeah.
pass the Bechdel test.
Yeah, I think it sure is pretty progressive. I think the whole plot, like that she's like the mother of the revolution and shit, is great. If we're being sincere, which we weren't, but let's be sincere
Yeah.
for a second.
Fuck-
I think it's good.
Fuck sincerity.
I think it's good for that. I disagree.
Yeah, she's a very capable character in this one. And of course, in the sequel, it's all about her being like a badass, right?
Yeah. She's like
she
a
like-
proper like mother of the revolution, and she's certainly not like a screaming damsel. And this movie sets her up really well for that, because it almost subverts, because she is like the young waitress, and she's getting her life together, and she's hanging out with her roommates, and she's just an average girl from the 80s, and so we're kind of set
With
up to
her
think that she's going to be
giant
like
hair.
a worthless, big
Her
hair,
enormous
of course.
hair.
Of course, gotta have the big hair. It's the 80s. Yeah, we're set up to think that she is going to be like another worthless damsel, and she's set up to rise to the occasion.
What a way to put that.
Well, going by the talk of the time, that was
the 30s.
Yes.
This
This worthless dame.
This broad over here.
yeah, but what a dime.
This hysterical, broad, worthless dame. And then Big Jim came along and said, no.
He ended sexism.
That's
Big
right.
Jim ended-
I wasn't trying to say it directly, but
James Cameron ended sexism in 1984 when he made Terminator.
that was it. That was
And then
the
he
moment.
proceeded to go along and have a much more important career than Catherine Bigelow.
That worthless damsel.
All right.
Hey, where
Parody.
is he?
Parody.
Better be. Sons of bitches.
Well, what's great about Sarah Connor in this movie is she is like a hero of circumstance.
Yeah.
As he-
Like,
best
she's
heroes
not
are.
like a girl boss. Like,
No.
in like a very 2010s, 2020 sense. Like,
Or boy boss for the same reason, right? Like, it's a good hero is one that rises to the occasion. And fuck gender, Like, it's all about like.
Well, what I mean by that is, like, she
I
is a
agree.
strong character, but it's not written for her character to be the strong, flawless character.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She is forced to rise to the circumstance that she faces, not by choice, but just by coincidence.
Yeah, by circumstance.
Yeah.
Good old hero's journey shit, The adventure is thrust upon the hero.
Kyle Reese. Let's talk about Kyle Reese.
Let's reese it up.
Yeah.
Let's Reese it up.
Let's go to Beantown. Michael Beantown.
Michael Beantown. Yeah, Kyle Reese, he's, the sort of...
He's a Christ figure, really.
Is he? Is he a Christ figure?
Not really. I mean,
I don't think so. I think you're just saying that.
I definitely am. I think it's funny. I don't know. He dies for our sins, I guess. I don't know.
Not really. But, I mean, really, like, if we're going to pivot to being serious, like...
Really? The Terminator is a Christ figure.
John Connor is the Christ figure, right?
Nah, that's the Terminator, because he comes back.
He even says, I'll be back. The famous line. He says, I'll be back.
Just like Christ.
Just like Christ.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Christ said as he was dying on the cross. He said, I'll be back, and we've been waiting 2,000 years. Where is he? Where is he at? The Terminator comes back way faster.
It's like, so we have a perfectly good 80s robot movie with a Christ allegory, which is RoboCop, like we could be talking about, but like, nah.
Yeah, we've already done that.
We already did that.
Time
to move on to a different Robo Christ.
That's right.
But this one, he's bad.
He's bad. He's evil robot Christ.
This is what he's bad.
Which is what I will be referring to him as for the rest of the podcast until I get tired of it quickly.
I mean, I think it's funny, like, in comparison to T2 and like the sort of like long enduring Terminator legacy is like Arnold's Terminator is like a hero, right? Like that's generally how he's thought of in like broad popular culture. But like he's the villain. I mean, he is the villain in this one. Yeah. They send him back again in T2 to stop Robert Patrick.
Well, I almost feel like that's why his character works even better in T2, is because he's set up as this very intimidating, scary villain in the first one, and by the second one, a T-800 comes back, and, he's outclassed by this newer, scarier model.
The newer, scarier model, yeah, exactly. But, I mean, it's cool seeing, like, where that legacy started in this movie, where like Arnold is the monster. He's the slasher villain, right? Yeah. He's the unstoppable killer who just blows people away indiscriminately. I love how, jumping ahead a little bit, when he comes for them in the police station, how just like leading up to this, Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese have been like telling the police all of this stuff. Reese gives his whole backstory, and of course they don't believe him. They have a chronically sleepy police psychiatrist in there, who's interviewing him and then like playing the tapes back and talking about how he's like got paranoid delusions, yada yada, all of this stuff. And they're telling Sarah Connor's like, oh well, the reason that the guy that you kept shooting over and over didn't die was because he was on PCP and wearing police body armor, surely. And then like he shows up at the police station after all of this, and just one after another, all of these cops just like run out into the hallway and just like unload at him and then just immediately get shot. It's like the fucking Three Stooges, just like one after the other.
Because like they're, we've already seen Arnold in action a little bit, and then right beforehand she's all worried and they're like, oh no, take a nap on the couch, it's more comfortable than it looks. And seriously, don't worry.
It's like, you're totally... I got 30 cops out there.
30 cops in this police station. And it just, it'd be...
You couldn't be safer, yeah.
That has me rubbing my hands and licking my lips, like, oh shit, like this is gonna go down. And it does.
I smell bacon.
Oh shit. God damn it.
It's so funny that, like, that's the scene where, like, the famous, like, I'll be back line lands. And it's like, I mean, clearly, because I'd never actually seen the movie before, but you never think about the context of that line, usually.
I had no idea it's followed up by him driving a car.
He walks into the police station, he's like, I need to talk to Sarah Connor, and the cop is like, no, she's giving a statement. He's like, okay, I'll be back. And walks out, and then just drives a car straight through
when he said it in that scene, I was just thinking, like, surely at the end of the film he says it again. But no. That's it. That's the scene where he says the iconic...
Does he say it again in T2? Does he say I'll be
Yes.
back in T2?
I think
so.
he says it at the end, and it is iconic, and I think that's where it was really kind of reinforced. I would think.
Okay.
Because
It's been a minute since I've
Yeah.
seen T2. I always forget.
on that note, though, something that was really buzzing through my head throughout this whole movie was
It was busting through your head.
no buzzing,
Oh,
like a bee.
okay. I was
It
busting.
was a
through
loud
your head.
thought, buzzing around. Anyway, not busting, no, but buzzing around my head was. There's been so many stupid adaptations of Terminator, right? Like we got one last year. They've been pumping them out since the franchise started, and just how
get
much
one
they've
last year?
missed
Did
what
that
makes
happen?
Terminator to me. Like
Oh,
watching this
yeah.
and taking it in fresh for the first time and seeing like what is like known versus what is like properly iconically Terminator. And it's so silly to me. Like Arnold is important and the one-liners are important, but like it's the vibes, man. It's the vibes of this movie. And none of the other Terminator movies that I've seen or clips I've seen of them like have those same vibes.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it's that
I
whole
feel
idea of
like-
like coming back from time, and the neo-noir sci-fi stuff is
Yeah.
like really much more prime. And I mean and again, emphasis on noir. The tech is there and it's present, but it's not constant. And all the other Terminator movies are just like it's constant tech. It's
Well, it's
constant
constantly
sci-fi.
having to outdo itself, right?
Right, and it's like back to basics, man. Like it's the fog and the blue lights and the shiny stuff. Like
I feel like most Terminator things are pulling from T2 rather than this one.
sure,
I think they might do a service to themselves pulling from this and kind of stripping things back a little
Yeah.
bit.
but it reminds me. It's the same mistakes that like a lot of the modern slasher remakes make, also, where they think that the mask and the kill weapon makes the monster, and not the vibes.
Yeah.
and not the plot elements.
Yeah, remakes and legacy sequels often miss the point of what made the original great.
Yeah.
And I think Ben absolutely has a point that, like, this movie is important, but T2 cemented the legacy, and everything after that was trying to fill T2's shoes. I've not seen most of the Terminator sequels. I did see that the one with Christian Bale that's like all set in the future,
Yeah.
which came out in like the late 2000s.
Well, what's
Yeah.
funniest
That's not a
about
very
them
good
is
one.
like the three. I think it's been three ones that came out post T3.
Yeah, there's the
Resistance.
Salvation.
Genesis.
Yeah, it's the Christian
Salvation is the Christian Bale
Salvation.
one, and then there's like Dark Genesis,
Dark
which came out a
Genesis
few
and-
years ago, and then
Well, there's also
Salvation, I think.
the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the TV.
Yeah.
that was a TV.
But,
that was
all
a TV
three
show.
of the kind of soft reboot movies, they were each trying to set up them to be trilogies, and none of them panned out.
Yeah.
So they're all three like movie one of three in a row.
Don't do that. Just tell
Yeah.
one good story. Like, come on.
One of the recent ones, I know they did bring Linda Hamilton and Arnold back, and they digitally smoothed Arnold, and they're like, it's okay, it looks uncanny
Well, they did it
because
in the
because he's a robot.
Because in is either the last one or the one before that they did that, but also in Salvation at the very end there's a CG Arnold boss fight.
Yeah, see, I do not remember that.
Yeah,
at
that
all.
movie, like whenever I remember my experience of watching that movie, it's just like me sitting in a
That movie stinks because it's like in a Terminator Iraq War movie.
Like I try and remember it, and I just remember me sitting in a dark theater and just the sound of a grenade ringing for 2 hours. Like it's so fucking relentless.
such an ugly looking movie too.
Yeah,
It's just
brown
brown
and relentless.
brown.
Directed
meanwhile,
by
like-
Mick G.
Yeah, like
Oh, was it directed by?
yeah. Again. Meanwhile, this movie's so vivid and colorful.
Yeah.
And it's just set in L.A. in the 80s, and it's and to me, like, this movie looks, even though it's set in like quote present day, it looks way more sci-fi than that Salvation movie does.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you say it's really colorful, but I like how limited the color palette feels.
Yeah,
in
it's
this
it's
movie.
rich, but it is very limited.
You know, because the majority of it is set at night. You have a lot of blue lights, and you have a lot of red accents.
yeah.
All of the Terminator vision is in red. Terminator's red eye, of course,
Mm-hmm.
that we get some nice shots of. They really kind of limit the bright pops of color to where it matters.
Yeah, I mean it's a very colorful film. Most of it is very cold, except for like those few times of like the bright red accents, which pair really nicely. I think the animatronic Arnold head when we first see his red robo eye is like the one effect that does not hold up very well.
Oh, but it's so funny.
It's fun.
It's so fun.
It's fun, but it does look look pretty bad.
Yeah.
Especially
got a good laugh out of all of us.
Especially in contrast to the endoskeleton at the end after he's been blown up and it's like just the metal skeleton. Like that looks great.
Yeah.
Like that animatronic looks fantastic.
It's crawling around. It's so fucking gross and spooky.
You know, the stop motion stuff looks really fucking good, really smooth. And like, yeah, that all looks great. And it's just like, just those couple of times where it's like the animatronic rubber Arnold head with like the red eye showing through. It's like, that's the one thing in this movie. Like, that does not look very good. Everything else effects wise has aged remarkably, I think.
Absolutely. That the practical Arnold head when he starts pulling out his eyeball reminded me of the practical Arnold head with the swollen eyeballs in Total Recall.
Total Recall,
yeah. Like, and it made me wonder.
Which is a much tonally goofier.
Yeah, there
film,
it's
so like
almost
it's,
supposed to be silly
it's
and
less out of
cartoonish.
place.
Yeah,
I think.
mean his eyeballs are like popping out of his head like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah,
like it's Verhoeven.
I do. To be clear though, I do think the part where he is like removing his
every other shot in that scene
where he's like removing his eye, his damaged eye to like reveal the red part underneath, like that, where it's just like it's almost like an Unchien and Andalou kind of shot where he's like holding the eye open and he's bringing like an X-Acto blade in to like carve it out. That all looks really good because it's just like they just shoot it with creative angles and like some prosthetics, and then they cut to the head moving around with the red eye of just like rubber Arnold, and it's like that doesn't look. I do think it's especially funny because like at one point when Reese is like giving some exposition to Sarah Connor, he's like, at first, when they sent in infiltrators, they had rubber skin. We could spot those pretty easily. But then they started using real living flesh. But just like him saying that and then later seeing like the rubber Arnold head moving around, it's like, I thought you said they got better than that. I thought you said they upped their game.
It's funny. Another shot that looks really good is when he operates on his arm.
Yes, that is the coolest effect.
Hands are hard.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a real hand coming up from under the table,
the desk, and then that
is painted into a prosthetic arm that has.
It is that, I think, for the most part, like during the shot where you see the hole in the arm with the bits underneath and like the mechanical bits moving. But then there's another part too where he then cuts into the hand, and I'm pretty sure that was puppetry.
The arm is, but the actual hand with the fingers moving, you can see the videos on YouTube of how they did that. They had somebody under the table with their
like
hand
an
up
alien.
through it. Yeah. So like all of the hand stuff was a real hand, which is part of why it looks so good. But yeah, then when he's cutting into the arm and pulling it back, and you see like the little metal pistons and stuff moving inside as he twitches each one of his fingers, is that's an extremely cool effect. Yeah, has held up very, very well.
Yeah, and again, wet latex.
Yep, wet latex.
Movies are
Can't
too
go
dry
wrong with
now.
it. Yeah, movies are way too dry. That's why Big Jim had to go and make Avatar: Way of Water, one of the wettest movies I've seen in years.
Reclaiming the wet.
And it's all digital wetness too, doing something that only Big Jim can do, and making digital wetness look as good as real wetness.
All right, put your boner away. Moving on. So the
Abyss.
The Abyss. Right.
Speaking of wet movies, James Cameron loves a wet movie.
He does.
And that's why he's one of the last real filmmakers.
You could argue that his whole career has been foundationally built upon wetness.
It's true.
Titanic,
Yeah.
Way of Water.
Way of Water. Aliens gets pretty wet.
Those are
very gooey
very
movie.
gooey films. Yeah.
There's a lot of wetness and goo, and he gets it. Like it's that tactile element. I think it's being able to reach out and feel a movie.
And he
get all those
designed
textures.
and
It's
he
important.
designed and built a submarine that's capable of going deeper than any other submarine built.
As was really strongly reinforced recently.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder.
I love whoever's idea it was to go to James Cameron about the fucking Ocean Gate thing and be like, James, what do you think? He's like, oh yeah, they fucked up. They built the cheapest, shittiest little submarine powered by a fucking Xbox controller.
In that news cycle, there was a story and video that resurfaced of Big Jim coming up from one of those big dives and learning about 9/11.
Yeah, while they were shooting,
Wes Henderson was there too, right?
It was Bill Paxton,
right.
is the one. I think it's when they were shooting Titanic.
Yeah.
Or no, because Titanic
Titanic
was
was
before
90s,
that.
yeah.
It was 97. Yeah, they were shooting something, and James Cameron was at the bottom of the ocean when 9/11 happened. And the video of him coming out of the submarine and Bill Paxton being like, "It's the worst terror attack in human history, Jim." Such a funny. Oh man.
Tech Noir. Let's talk about The Club.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we got to touch on. I love that they named The Club the genre of the movie.
Yeah.
I think that's very fun. The club is literally called Tech Noir, which is just what the movie is, and that's great. And
it's the first scene where all of our three central characters are brought together for the first time.
the Terminator finds out that Sarah Connor is there.
Yep.
Sarah Connor phones the police. The police tell her to stay there, and Kyle
And
Reese
don't
has
go
been
to the
watching.
bathroom.
Yeah, don't go to the bathroom.
No
whatever you
shitting.
do. No shitting.
Yeah, and at this point, Sarah Connor has noticed Kyle Reese tailing her. She thinks he's the killer.
Yeah.
Which is nice, good tension. And then she's sitting there waiting for, the next beat to drop, and here comes Arnold, and he walks up to her very matter of fact and lifts the pistol up, and Kyle Reese knows at that moment who the Terminator is.
Yeah, he's had to wait and watch because they can so perfectly imitate humans that you don't know who it's going to be until you see an enormous Austrian man walk into the club. And in a fucking sort of like techno club, he could just be there for Der Funky beats.
That's true.
He could just be there
Big
to party.
Austrian man.
Yeah. He could just be those.
Just be a
Yeah.
Kraftwerk enthusiast.
Exactly,
You
but
don't know.
then when he pulls out an enormous pistol, you know that he's actually the Terminator. That scene, it's probably just because we watched it pretty recently, but reminds me a lot of the club scene in Fright Night. A little less horny, but this kind of like very central like confrontation scene with the monster in a club in an 80s club where everybody's fucking dancing and bopping.
I was
and shit.
to bring it up again. I was thinking about the one in RoboCop where he gets Ray Wise
Oh yeah, that too.
too. I think this is a better scene. I prefer RoboCop as a film, but I think that this is this club scene is really good for
fucking
a
tight.
reason that I think you also commented on being a little corny, and that is the slow-mo bits.
Yeah, it's just because all the people doing their fucking goofy 80s
Dancing.
dances in slow motion.
But here's what
I think it's great. I love it.
it is great. This movie, there's a very simple thing that they do there that most movies don't go through the effort of doing, and that is that they still have everyone dancing on beat. Bad movies, when they do club scenes, they just kind of tell people to dance without music on, or there's like a simple basic track, and people just kind of doing whatever. But here, it's like,
Well, yeah, because if you're recording
it's like,
on-set audio, you can't just have music playing.
yeah. But here, like they coordinate it. So during the slow-mo shots, like everyone is, it's like waves rising and cresting as people are like moving, and then Arnold just cutting through them without rhythm. And I think it's really cool. I think it's a really cool like use of motion, and it just makes it a better scene than like so many of those other club sequences in movies. Again, RoboCop included. Though this one doesn't have Ray Wise in it, so it's going to take a hit for that. but
Yeah, well, sometimes you get Ray Wise, sometimes you get Arnold. You know, can't win them all.
oh, I did really like that.
No, it's a great scene, and I mean it's when the movie becomes like an action film proper, right?
yeah.
You know, like it's the first of many like gunfights,
And it's great
shootouts.
because, the people are scattering. Kyle gets a couple of shots into him. I love all the stuff with the Uzi. We haven't really talked about Arnold's physicality here, but you really believe he's a big robot.
Yeah,
And it is like very carefully done, and it brings up a point that I talk about with peers a lot, and that's that there's just different types of actors, and I just don't think that physical actors get enough credit for being like great actors. I think that it is an equally valuable skill set as dramatic acting. I mean, if you can have both, fantastic, right?
depends
Like,
on the film entirely.
Right. What is the role calling for?
It's
is
all
really
about knowing
important.
how to cast the actors.
Yeah, it's
right?
golden apples and golden ducks. Like they're very different. They can be very different crafts that cross over. And here, like having that kind of physicality takes a great deal of understanding your own body and muscle control and choreography. And
Well,
that's an art. And
I mean,
I think he does it really well.
He's a bodybuilder, right? Before
Yeah.
that, he's a
Well,
bodybuilder.
he was the highest rated bodybuilder. He was literally
Mr. Universe, yeah. And I mean, who has to have like greater moment to moment control over their bodies than bodybuilders?
Yeah,
you know?
because he got there by pushing his limits and knowing like. And to do that, you really do have to fully understand yourself.
Well, yeah, and to gain that kind of physique, like to lift weights the way that they do, you have to do it with like absolutely impeccable form, or you're going to injure yourself.
Yeah.
So like,
in a
just
big
like
way.
having that control, that full control over your body, is just like such a valuable physical acting thing. And Arnold is really is perfect for this because he is able to move in a way that feels like he is a
Perfect killing machine.
Yeah, he's a big robot.
And I love it that there's this really good shot during that scene where Kyle, he slides across the bar and dives over the side. And Arnold he pulls the Uzi out of his cloak and he tracks the movement like perfectly. And it's like, because like there's just like this perfect arc that Kyle Reese takes, and then Arnold just follows it because he's just this ideal machine and he has like laser tracking. So even though like he isn't hitting his mark, he doesn't feel like a stormtrooper. He still feels dead accurate in this film, even though frankly he does miss a lot. But it doesn't break the immersion or the sense of how powerful he is. And then Kyle like gets a number of shots on him, and only ever enough to knock him down, and he's coming right back up again,
just to slow him down.
And again, all that before the police station scene where they then say, "Oh, there's 30 cops in here. You're gonna be fine. Take a nap." Like, we all know, oh fuck yeah, it's gonna go down, and sure enough, it does. We've already talked about that scene, so we probably move on from there.
Yeah, well, from there they go on to the motel, which is where we get a lot of exposition, and we also get the horny factor increasing.
Of course. Were you guys kind of surprised when they asked for a hotel with a kitchen? I didn't even think that they really made those very much. I mean, it makes sense. It's just I've never needed a hotel with a kitchen, so I've never thought about it.
You can still get hotel rooms that have like little kitchenettes. Like it's never much more than like a small fridge, a sink, and like a hot plate, maybe a microwave or something. Yeah, but they do need a kitchen because they have to make some plastique explosive to make some fucking pipe bombs. The fucking horny ass scene where he's telling her, or no, she asks him in like the clumsiest way, like the absolute clunkiest way, if he has a girlfriend back in the future. She starts by asking women in the future, what are they like? And he's like, good fighters. And she's like, that's not what I mean. Do you have someone special? It's like, just ask that. But then he goes on to tell her,
that's
like,
not how people are, though. You gotta kind of be roundabout and
but he goes on to tell her, he tells her that he's a virgin, basically. He's like, no, there's never been a girl, but years ago, John Connor gave me a picture of you, and he never told me why, but I fucking looked at that picture and I got so fucking horny about it all the time, and I've loved you ever since I can remember. And she's like, I'm also horny for you, Kyle Reese. That's
it.
And,
That's how the scene goes.
and then they have a very clumsy sex scene.
Yeah, but so 80s.
Oh yeah, I
Like
mean
the do-do-do-do, music is playing. Boo, boo, boo.
yeah, he slowly lays her down on the motel bed, backlit by the blue light through the curtains.
It's really like the face-to-face slow laying down in the bed is like the synths play.
Yeah.
Like it's just, oh man, it's very Top Gun.
But more heterosexual.
I mean, anything is.
But then, so this is of course important because Kyle Reese has to be John Connor's father, as we find out later. So, so he had to be like, I need you to go back in time and fuck my mom.
That is the craziest part of the plot of this movie. By miles, that is the silliest part. Like, the John Connor, head of the revolution, said, Kyle Reese, I need you to go back in time and fuck my mom. Like, what the fuck? What?
It always hurts my head a little thinking about Too Hard.
Yeah. Well, it's like he didn't tell him that, but that is why he gave him the picture of
photograph.
Yeah, it's like, look at this picture of my mom and how hot she is, and I need you to spend years and years and years getting progressively hornier and hornier for her, and you're never allowed to have sex with any other woman. You must only be horny for my hot mom.
That's the Terminator movie I want to see. I want to see the one where John Connor keeps women away from Kyle Reese so that he fucks his mom in the future.
Just like constantly cock blocking.
There's no
him.
robots in it. It's all just them in the tunnels, like huddled, and him just constantly being like, "Oh, hey, over here."
Just being approached by like the like dustiest women you've ever seen, because it's the post-apocalypse and nobody has taken a bath ever in their lives.
And Kyle Reese thinks that John Connor might be gay for him, but really, like, he's his dad, so that can't be a thing, so it's like a will they, won't they, forbidden kind of, it's the whole thing.
It's like, oh, I'm so horny, and then John Connor...
Bannis's look on his face.
Will there, won't there, gay incest.
And it's like you can't. I can't tell you why, but you can't have sex with any woman
or
ever.
me.
But here, look at this pic. But here, take this picture of my mom. I'm not going to tell you why, but it's extremely important. But don't fuck anybody. Be careful. I need you to be maximum horny for when it's time to send you back to 1984.
Oh man, freedom fighters aren't really known for like being the most attractive people on the planet. And they're not known for being hideous either. But like, you're a freedom fighter. You're probably missing a couple teeth. You're like in stinky holes all day. And not like that. But sorry. But
I'm a freedom fighter. I'm balls
man,
deep in stinky holes.
Jesus Christ. Oh God. No, I was trying to say.
I'm saying he's standing in a hole in the ground up to his waist. And it smells bad.
What is happening? I'm so sorry.
Get your mind out of the gun.
I'm trying real hard to.
You fucking perv.
So Kyle, he's so attractive. Like, how are the freedom fighter ladies not trying to jump his bones all the time? And I'm telling you, it's because John Connor was actively trying to keep him off him.
Yeah. It probably has nothing to do with the fact that they're engaged in a forever war with an endless horde of
I'm not interested in those details.
of relentless machines, and that they have to constantly worry about a machine disguised as a man walking through their door and mowing them down in their tunnels, like we see happening in the movie. Definitely has nothing to do with that.
No, definitely not. All right, well, I think that's all the material I can get out of that. We do get a flashback around the same time.
Yeah,
in the movie.
there's a couple of flashbacks
of that,
yeah.
And I love the sequence where their resistance is in the tunnels. And the Terminator comes in. Of course, a different Terminator. And they have the dogs at the front of the tunnel, and the dogs start going crazy. There's a little bit of dialogue, and they make it clear. They're like, oh yeah, I need them to sniff out the Terminators or whatever.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of like someone bringing in like a tricycle or something, the dog's freaking out. It's like,
Yeah, I feel like the dogs would probably
alloy.
like freak out at like way more just like mundane things. It's like they just start barking at a dude who's got like a fucking 30-year-old Slim Jim in his pocket that he found in like the rubble or something. The dogs start barking and they just like
Mow the guy
they just
down.
mow the dude down. It's like he was a Terminator. It's like, and then the dogs are just like digging the beef jerky out of his pocket.
Yeah, so they set that up like relatively organically, and I like that.
Yeah, I like
but
that scene.
That sequence is cool, like all the sci-fi like corridors, and like we get Kyle Reese walking down a hallway, and he sees two kids watching TV, and then the camera flips around, and we see that like the TV's been hollowed out, it's just been made into a fireplace.
Yeah,
Which will fill the whole tunnel with smoke, but like I think that's fun. But yeah, it's like watching just a fire.
Yeah,
like
inside of a hollowed out TV.
Yeah.
And he sits down, he pulls out the picture of Sarah Connor, and he's thinking about having a wank. And then the Terminator comes in and just starts mowing everybody down with
What if
his
John
big...
Connor sent that Terminator so Kyle Reese couldn't have a wank?
Yo, what if he did? He's like, I gotta keep him I gotta keep
in
him
that
as
deep
frustrated
lore.
as possible.
I'm in that Terminator deep
I
lore,
gotta
man.
keep him as sexually frustrated. Is that when the picture burns up too, or does
I
that
forget.
happen?
I think around that time, yeah.
Yeah, that was later.
Is he back in the past when the picture burns up?
The picture definitely burns in a flashback.
Okay, yeah. Then if it does, then it must be during that scene. But yeah, that's like his last like that's the picture that he's been using to jack off for years, and so it's burned, and he's like, now I have to go back to the past and fuck Sarah Connor because I don't have the picture anymore.
He really is like just the ultimate simp.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
That said, I really like his character.
He's the ultimate unwitting simp, as his sympathy has been carefully crafted by John Connor, who knows that he's his dad. And he's like, I have to send you back to fuck my mom. And now we've come full circle. We're back at this joke.
The scene I really want to talk about comes right after that, when the Terminator shows up at the motel.
Yes.
And a chase sequence begins.
Yes.
This chase sequence is one of my favorite sequences of the movie. You get the Terminator on his motorbike chasing him down the highway.
Yeah, as Kyle Reese is throwing the pipe bombs that they made out the truck at him, and he's trying to like time the fuse just right so he's able to get Arnold, but he can't. It either blows up behind him or it blows up right in front of him, and you get fucking awesome shots of him on the motorcycle coming out of this like big cloud of smoke.
There is one time where it does blow up at the right time, but it's to the right of him.
Yeah.
So, again, Kyle Reese, still seems capable during it. He's targeting, he's thinking it through, but he just isn't lucky.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it makes it work.
I like, after that, the way that transitions to the next part is, Arnold, pulls up alongside them, and they kind of, swerve and, knock him against, a guardrail, which is also what flips their car, right?
Yeah.
That's the maneuver that crashes it, and
What a stunt, man!
Yeah, it's a
Holy shit.
fucking sick stunt.
I love the shot. It's a split second long, but you just see the Terminator's body sliding across the road.
Yeah.
To yeah, awesome.
And it's you get the great shot of him sort of sitting up and turning and looking at them, and he's got his glowing red eye, and then just immediately he's run over by a fucking semi-truck and just gets tangled up in the axle underneath, which really fucks his face up. But it's still not enough to stop him, because then he gets out he disentangles himself from the axle of the truck and then hijacks the truck.
And we get that amazing shot where because the truck driver has a passenger, and the driver hops out and be like, "Oh fuck, I gotta see if we killed that dude or whatever." And Arnold executes him, and then he enters the truck, but he enters it, and we see his face from the right side, which is less damaged. And the guy's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And then he turns his head, and we just see this fucking endoskeleton, just skeleton, I guess. Metal skeleton.
Yeah.
I love a good like pivot reveal. That's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as he's chasing Sarah and Kyle down in the truck, like about to run them over, and Kyle jumps out of the way and throws his last remaining pipe bomb up the tailpipe of the truck.
It becomes a tailpipe bomb.
Yeah, which... All right. Well done.
It was a semi-good pun.
All right, calm down.
And then he jumps in a dumpster.
Yes, he jumps in a dumpster because, of course, the semi-truck is hauling, like a huge tank of something highly explosive, of course. So when the pipe bomb goes off, it sets off just like an even more massive, like truly spectacular explosion.
And it doesn't just stop at the semi. All the oil that's been slicked all over the road also catches fire around it. So we just get this beautiful inferno that sort of creates a wall of fire across the scene in multiple directions.
And Arnold, he's still, he climbs out of the destroyed cab of the truck.
I love how that's shot, because Sarah Connor rounds the corner, she's like, Kyle! And she runs over to Kyle, and they're in the lower third, hugging and, taking a moment. And in the background is some rubble, with the fire raging behind it. And then the rubble starts to move, and you realize that what you thought were components of the truck is the Terminator skeleton. So we actually see it in the shot for a few seconds before we realize what it is.
Well, before we see the
That's cool.
we see the skeleton, Arnold gets out of the cab of the truck, and he's fully on fire, and takes a couple of steps towards them before falling to the ground, and you can see all of the skin and stuff melting off of the skeleton underneath, and it's that is just one of the next 3 times where they think they got him, but surprise, he keeps coming. Because then we get the shot that you described where he stands up, and it's just the full gleaming skeleton with the glowing red eyes that starts chasing them into the heavy machinery factory. I don't know. That's all that it needs to be. Because that's where we get the final confrontation, where Kyle sacrifices himself to kill, or so he thinks, the Terminator or I guess he had one more pipe bomb.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the last one that he put in the truck, because here in this scene, he shoves it in the Terminator's chassis.
Well, he had one up his butt just in case.
Of course,
gotta keep one packed just in case.
Just in case, you gotta keep one out. Just keep the fuse hanging out your butthole at the back of your pants.
This is a wild episode.
But even that, he sacrificed himself, but even that isn't enough, because even though he blows the Terminator to pieces, it still keeps coming with its one remaining arm, dragging itself towards Sarah. I love that part where it's chasing, because her leg is all fucked up too, so she can't walk.
Everybody's limping.
So she's crawling. The mangled remains of the Terminator is crawling after her, and she's crawling through this huge pneumatic press that's very narrow, and she's able to claw her way out to the other side, and just as the Terminator is reaching out and grabs her around the neck, she's able to hit the button that activates the press and just fucking crushes it into scrap. Finally ending the threat of the Terminator.
It's a great tense finale. I will say it is a little similar to what they do in T2,
but better in T2.
Yes, yeah. It's kind of overshadowed.
Yeah.
I love the whole time with the skeleton. I keep wanting to say exoskeleton. That is not correct. It
No,
feels
it's on
right,
it's
though,
on the
but-
inside.
Yeah, an endoskeleton. That's just a skeleton. But it's called that because it's Indio body. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of the old Ray Harryhausen Jason and the Argonauts.
Oh, with the skeletons.
Yeah. This is against stop motion skeletons moving around. It's just
Stop motion skeleton is a classic of cinema.
in that
But-
20 years though. Like I mean, the technology had just clearly come like so much further. I mean, it's herky and jerky in its movement. But the frame rate of it and the rest is also fluid, and it's so well composited in the scene too. Like the only there's that one shot where they slam the door in front of it, which is a pretty common scene to do, like with compositing, where the composited monster is coming up in large scale just as the characters close the door. But in this one, like you can tell, but like
it's good.
The scenes are
it's good though. It's good though.
Yeah, it's tight.
Yeah, well, I mean the movement of the Terminator at that point, like it is a little bit jerky, but it feels like it's jerky because of how badly damaged it is, right? Like it doesn't feel like a limitation of the technology that gives it that little bit of jerk that stop motion has, but that like, yeah, he's jerking and lurching around because he's fucking been through hell and is terribly damaged and is just like barely holding together.
Just like Kyle Reese, he's been jerking and lurking through hell.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, stop motion skeletons are really like a cinema classic. But only Big Jim has the vision to say, what if a stop motion skeleton was metal? What if it was made of steel
And glowing red eyes.
and had glowing red eyes? What if?
That's all you need.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then the film ends with, Sarah Connor driving out in the desert. She's visibly pregnant, and she's recording tapes, obviously, like, to her unborn son. And she stops at a gas station, and she's like, should I tell you about your dad? Yeah, I guess you should, because if you don't send him back in time, then you'll never be born. So I need you to send your dad back in time.
And mischievously keep him away from all the other ladies.
Yeah, and like and make sure he's extremely horny. So, but and then at this point, a little Mexican boy runs up and takes her picture with his Polaroid camera and sells it to her, and we see that it's the photo that Kyle was using to jerk off for all of those many years, and then she drives off into the gathering storm.
Okay, that shit is really funny because like it's the kid says something and he runs off and she asks like what did he say and the guy says a storm is coming and then I said a metaphorical storm.
Yeah, it's metaphorical.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
And then she drives
Dun, dun,
off
dun,
into a
dun.
matte painting.
Yeah, into a matte painting of a gathering storm. Dun 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 dun. And
We did it.
And that's the Terminator.
Yeah, that's it.
We did it. Rate it.
I'll see you Terma later. We'll definitely be covering T2 at some point on the podcast. I in the moment watching the movie, I was thinking, God damn, this is a 5. And it is really good. There are so many films out there that I would put over this one as a 5. And I wonder, like, is that enough to make me lower it to a 4.5? And I think just by feeling on this one, I think I might. Should I give?
Okay.
I think I'm going to give Big Jim a 4.5. But
Okay.
It's such a fucking banger. Oh God, I don't know though. It's so good. Oh, Near Dark is better though. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I know.
You keep comparing it to a movie that he didn't make.
I know, but they're similar, and I like.
They're
it.
of a similar era and have
wanna-
a similar aesthetic.
Yeah, and
were made by people who were married to each other, but they're not. They're not.
Tangerine Dream did the score for Near Dark, and I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Okay.
Give it a 4.5.
Ben.
This is a solid movie. Big Jim don't miss. But Big Jim is much better at sequels. This is a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5.
Yeah, it's going to be a 4 out of 5 for me as well. It is a great film, an important film, but like you said, Big Jim is better at sequels. It's not T2.
His sequel to Titanic is probably his best work, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That Avatar, The Way of Water. Kate Winslet's in it. Anyway, that will give The Terminator a strong average of 4.2 out of 5. And it was a joy and a pleasure to finally see this one and talk about it.
I think we've been needing to.
Yes. Next week, it's Ben's pick. Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about next week?
Yeah, so this pick, I'm doing something a little different. I recently watched a movie called Lake Nowhere that I really liked. The one caveat is it's 45 minutes. So I'm going to do a shorts double feature. We're going to do Lake Nowhere and Shinya Tsukamoto's Haze. Two very different movies, but two bangers.
Wow. Next week is a 2-for-1 special of two things I've never even heard of. Exciting.
Is that the guy who did Tetsuo?
Yeah.
Ah, awesome. Okay, interesting.
Do love Tetsuo.
Did he make it before or after Tetsuo?
After.
Okay. Hell yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a little bit of a grab bag next week. Yeah. So yeah, come back and join us. Sponsor.
That was the dinging sound you heard. I did not mean for that. Hopefully you're not ear poison.
It was the sponsor spell.
The sponsor bell on the sponsor shelf, and it's taken us to sponsor hell. In spite of ourself. All right. This week is brought to you by Get out the meat. Get out the meats. Power up the grill. Toast those buns. It's time to be eating hand burgers.
Hand burgers, the burgers made of hand. Hand burgers.
Tastes better than sand.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so true. I couldn't put it better myself.
Every time I take a bite, I think, it's coarse, but it tastes better than sand.
This is better than sand. And if you get it on sale, you call that a 5-finger discount.
Wow.
All right. That'll do it for us this week. If you like the show, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to this. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/podpeoplepod. Shout out to our honorary pod boys, Sam, Zach, Micah, Mitchell, Jans, and special shout out to two new honorary pod boys, Sam 2 and Henry.
Hey!
Yes. Sam 2 and Henry, our newest Patreon subscribers.
Welcome! Thank you!
Sam 2, a.k.a. Goomba Sam.
A.k.a. Goomba Sam.
Yeah, thank you for supporting the podcast. If you want to be like them, go to Patreon and do it. You can also follow us at letterboxd.com/podpeoplepod, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. I don't really have anything to recommend this week. I've just been playing Baldur's Gate, so I guess that's my recommendation is Baldur's Gate. It's very fun.
Good.
It's very good. It's consuming my life.
Well, I'm going to recommend a movie we watched last night on a whim.
Oh, yes.
An absolute banger.
Good one.
I'm just going to ditto that. It's so fucking
King
good.
of the Kickboxers. It's an 80s, direct-to-video action movie. Basically a Hong Kong action movie made for a U.S. audience. It's all in English, and it's all, clearly written by someone who doesn't necessarily speak English. But the action is fucking phenomenal.
And frankly, the dialogue is fucking howling hilarious.
Yeah.
Too.
And
it's really funny.
And it's got Tybo legend Billy Blanks
as the villain.
As the villain.
Inspiration for DJ from Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, making some faces that I've never seen another human face make
Truly
before.
Innovative.
Yeah, I can absolutely second and third this recommendation. If you want an absolutely gonzo, weird fucking action flick.
Yeah,
King of the
it's all on
Kickboxers.
YouTube, so you can watch it there.
King of the Kickboxers. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Cleveland?
Fucking watch that movie. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Utter banger. Insane. Batshit film. Great.
Excellent movie. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. And no matter what, make sure that you stay on the right side of the podcast wars. Dun 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 dun.
Look at
Dun,
this
dun, 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 dun.
photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh. How did our eyes get so red? And what the hell is on Joey's head? This is where I grew up. I think the president owner fixed it up. I never knew we ever went without. The second floor is hot for sneaking out. And this is where I went to school. Most of the time had better things to do. Criminal record says I've broken twice. I must have done it half a dozen times. I wonder if it's too late. Should I go back and try to graduate? Life's better now than it was back then. If I was them, I wouldn't